inside his car, 2 terrorists in the back, 2 in the front. I'm severely wounded, and I'm trying to believe that they will take me to an hospital. I was just very hurt. Suddenly when I'm in these cars, everything starts to hurt. My legs, my head, my shoulder. And I'm telling myself, please, please, just take me to the hospital. But unfortunately, it wasn't the case. They stopped the car eventually, take me out, grab me, one from the shoulders, one from the legs again. It's really painful because of my condition. And they grab me and take me upstairs to an apartment. I remember passing through the living room, and I still had this bag on my face, but I could see through. And I see a family, a full family in this living room. Men, women, children. They take me into a specific room in this house, lock the door, and then I hear this knocking sound. Somebody comes inside, speaks with the terrorists. And when he looks at me, he seems very confused. He doesn't know what to do. Seems like he doesn't understand why they brought him here, and why they brought me here. And they tell him to take care of me, so he sits down next to me and starts to bandage my leg, my shoulder, my head, and when he gets to my left leg, he calls the terrorist, tell him to bring a broomstick. He break it into 2, wrap it around with the bandage, and this is currently what I have to hold my leg together. They make a small interrogation about me, who I am, and I understand that they don't know anything about me. For some reason I understood that they don't have any intel. And I decided, for my own safety and for Sapir's safety as well, a little bit, because I lied about her as well, to lie about my profession, to lie about my army service, to lie about the fact that Sapir is pregnant and we are also married. And then they take me out of this room and move me to another place. There is an older guy, 50 years old, waiting for me there. And he looks at my leg, my left leg, and he calls one of the terrorists to go outside and bring him some metal thing, like a grill thing. He cuts it into shape and bend it around my leg and wrap it around with elastic bandage. And that's it. Like, this is the only thing that holds my leg together for a week, while I'm waiting every single day to figure out if they're gonna kill me or not, what is going on, why I'm not being taken care of. I find myself very isolated because I have no other hostages to be speaking to. I am completely alone, surrounded by the terrorists. Some of them are abducted me, some of them are new. And after this week of, to be honest, agony, not knowing what my future holds, eventually they take me to an hospital, understanding that it's not gonna heal by itself and the condition is not getting better. They dressed me up, disguised me, and take me to an hospital. I remember that when I entered inside, I'm on a wheelchair, they are taking me, and there is a lot of civilians there, a lot of noise, and I'm going up the elevator to a specific room, and when I'm going closer and closer, I see that the voices are going away, and there is a complete silence. And when I pass through the entrance, I see 2 guard soldiers in the corner of my eye, because I'm not allowed to lift my head. I enter this room, and there is the older guy who put this metal thing on my leg, waiting for me there. Turns out he is a doctor working in the hospital. He takes an X-ray shot of my leg, and I see the pictures. I see it's completely broken. But for some reason, they still decide to move me to a storage unit in the hospital itself, so the civilians wouldn't see me. They call a nurse with the uniform and everything. He enters inside, looks at me, very disgusted. The terrorists were, I have discussed how happy with the accomplishments they had. They was very happy with the fact that they got me, but he didn't want to treat me at all. He enters this room and I see it in his eyes, I see it in the behavior towards the other terrorists. Eventually, he brings some cast material, put 2 cardboard boxes on top of each other, put my leg on top and just make the cast on it, as it is. And this was my last medical treatment that I got in Gaza, and part of it is why I needed to go through a surgery to fix my my wounds. After this hospital trip, they moved me to an apartment. And at that point in time, I remember thinking to myself, well, maybe it's around weeks, maybe, I don't know, a month or two before I got released, before everything is gonna be over. But I was very wrong. The war continued and became more and more intense. And with that, my conditions become worse and worse. I remember that I started eating 1 meal a day after a week, around the time that I came back from the hospital. But this meal shrunk every single day to the degree that after 3 weeks, I was eating 1 can of food, sharing it with terrorists around me. And then when the war progressed, and eventually at day 107, the army reached the specific area that I was at. And I was above ground, and there was 40 days, starting 40 days that I was surviving every single day without knowing if I will ever see the next morning when I'm going to sleep, or when I'm waking up, not knowing if I will see the rest of the day, not knowing if I will eat something, sometimes eating only dates. Situation that I'm moving from place to place every single day. The army is getting closer and closer. Situation that the soldiers are very close. You are being bombed from all over, from all directions. The terrorists are becoming stressed, which is risking your life even more. And somehow, after these 40 days of hunger and uncertainty, I managed to get out of there alive and was moved to Rafah. I remember that they took me on a motorcycle, driving through Rafah. I see it was a time that all the civilians were there, most of them at least, and there were so many places of markets open, a lot of food all over the place, and I told myself, wow, maybe now the situation will change, maybe I will start eating. But it wasn't the case. I reached the place that they put me at, and I enter this room and I see this cage, wooden cage, like a sukkah in a sense, in the corner of the room, 2 by 1 in meters, I don't know how much in feet.
Not very big.
No. And this was my place for another 2 months, until they moved me again, and then they put me into a room that I was completely isolated. The terrorists would come only once a day, bring me a little bit of food and leave. I had a bucket to do all my needs in this bucket, and at night they will allow me to get out, wash the bucket in the toilet, and go back to my room. And after the successful rescue mission of Mivtza Arnon, the operation of Arnon, when the 4 hostages were released alive, thank God, I remember that one of the terrorists came to this room, very stressed, telling me there were a failed operation, a failed rescue operation, where all the hostages were killed, a lot of soldiers were killed, and now you're going to be transferred to a tunnel. And I told him, what is going on? He told me, in a couple of days or so, you will be transferred to a tunnel, and that's it. He walked out. And it happened. One day came, covered my eyes, dragged me into a car. We drove around, eventually reaching a house. They led me by the hand and put me on the floor, taking off my blindfold, and I see in front of my eyes a shaft in the ground, a small hole. And they lighting up with their torches on, and I see it's very, very small, and I look at it, I look inside, and I think to myself, how can I fit in it? So I asked the terrorist, are you sure you're kidding? Like, you want me to get inside? And he told me, yes, go inside. I'm telling him, for sure I cannot fit. He told me, get inside. So I crumble, I go inside, and I see it's very, very small. The height is around this height from the stage. The width is around my width. Sometimes the height is even lower, so we need to crawl. But it was so long. I walked maybe a kilometer or 2, around a mile, inside this tunnel until I reached my destination, 30 meters below ground. Small room, much smaller than this stage, to be honest. Maybe 2/3 of this, a little bit smaller than this stage. When I first entered, I remember the stench It was very stinky, moldy, without air, very hard to breathe. And when I entered inside and I looked around and I see this room is very poorly built, the ground is falling on top of you, the place you're doing your needs is very close by, so the smell is hitting very harshly. And the loneliness was killing me, to be honest. At the beginning they were with me for a while, but then they started leaving and I was staying by myself for months sometimes. And one of the hardest things that I had in the tunnel are two things. First of all, the darkness was very, very hard because half of the day, sometimes even more, you have complete darkness. Darkness that you put your hand in front of your face and you just cannot see because you're completely underground, no source of light. And the other thing that was very harsh was the quiet. It was quiet without any noise. Every bug that walking on the floor you can hear. And it's so quiet that your brain starts making those beeping sounds in your ear because of the quietness. And to be honest, it gets to you. It's making you lose it. It makes you a little bit of crazy. And after 8.5 months in this tunnel, and as you said, 498 days in total in captivity, I was eventually released.
From the tunnels?
From the tunnels.
Wow. I'm sorry. Can you have some water? Okay. Let's try to see some joy. Sapir, can you tell us about the day you were released, the moments and the meetings with your family?
So after 55 days, I remember that one of the terrorists came to me and he say, it's 90% that you go back to your home today. But every day he say the same, so I didn't believe him. After a few seconds, I saw another terrorist, very influenced one, and I remember that he released the girl that she was with me. He released her 3 days before. So I understood that I go back. In that time, I was with 2 other hostages, men, and I remember that they came to me to say goodbye and they cried, and I told them like, why are you crying? So today I go back, tomorrow it will be you. And they say, but Sapir, what if not? What if there is something that's more important than us? And they spoke a lot about Gilad Shalit, about the soldier that stayed in the captivity for 5 years. Unfortunately, they came back just after 2 years in the last deal. So I started my way, and I remember when I entered to Israel, I saw so many people in the street, so many people with posters, and they were so happy they came to hug the car. It was like I look at them and I didn't believe that for all this love. And then I came to the first station, to the hospital. I met my parents. They couldn't stop crying. They felt like they got their life again. And I was so excited, but also it was very complicated. I felt that I came from one world to another world, and a different person, and I need to get to know myself again. And it's very hard for me because my work not for me anymore. And now I want different things. And now I look for meaning. And every time when I find it, I feel so angry. When I came back, I remember that people came to me and say, oh, Sapir, now we take you to make your nails or to make your hair. And I was very upset. I said, do you think that this is what's important to me now? Also, when my parents complain about the food in the hospital or something like that, they'll complain about little things. I was so angry that they couldn't sit near me. I thought to myself, what can I do now? How can I be useful? How can I continue my mission from Israel? I met his mother when I came back. She released the day before me. And she discovered that her husband murdered and her only son in the captivity, her only child. She felt that she lost everything in her life. And I say to myself, you can save her. And this is your mission now. I decided to move to live with her in the same hotel, to be like a family for her. And it wasn't easy. I remember, don't try it. I remember that after a few months she came to me and she says, Sapir, it's too much for me. I don't want to live anymore. And I didn't know what to do. I started to promise her grandchildren. At first it was twins, girls. I took her to shop for little kids. I show her, you see, this is what they're like. They like their mother. They just like pajamas all the day. But after 8 months, no, after a few months after, she came to me again and she said, and it wasn't nice, she said, Sapir, the twins, it's not enough. And she told me, she was very serious, she told me that she don't want to live anymore, that I need to wait for Sasha. She trusts me. So at the end we have 6 kids. Now we wait for the results, yeah. So this is what I did all the time, all this 1.5 years until he came back.
You were busy. You win the award of future daughter-in-law.
I didn't know her before the captivity, you know.
That might have been good.
I just came, to the kibbutz few times, talked to his father that he was a very nice person. And I look at her and I say, she's very weird. And we didn't talk. Just after the captivity, I know her and she's, wow, she's the most stronger person that I met.
Wow. Wow. Sasha, you ready? So I run a group for senior citizens, older people. And when I try talking to them about Hamas and what's going on, so I tell them they're animals, but a lot of them have cats and dogs as pets. So they get very upset with me. They say, don't call them animals. They're not animals, they're monsters. And I said, you know, they're right. Hamas is not animals, they're monsters. So here's my next question. When you were in captivity and you're describing this unimaginable situation, and you're telling us about how the civilians treated both of you and how the terrorists treated you, did you ever experience some moments of humanity during your captivity? Something that stood out despite all the inhumanity?
So when I came first to Gaza and I look around myself and I see all these terrorists and I see the interactions as I described to you some of them, and I see that it's a human interaction between themselves. They are laughing, they are fighting, they are, bugging each other, they are doing everything that a human will do, and I'm telling myself, it seems like, of course, there are human beings in front of me, but how can it be that a human being can do something so horrible to a fellow human being and just justify it, keep living in peacefully with himself. And I was bothered by this question for so long, and it was so hard for me to even try to interact, try to make some sort of connection with the terrorists, because I understand that I'm alone. I understand that I need to do something, because I cannot be just like that every single day. And eventually, I was lucky enough to receive maybe a partial answer, maybe the full answer for what is going on. I remember that I was in this place, in this apartment, just after they moved me from the hospital. And the owner of the apartment was one of my guards. And one day, after 2 weeks being there, he decided to bring his little daughter, she was maybe 3 years old, to visit me. I remember that he enters the apartment, he comes closer to me, she sees me, she becomes shy, so she hides behind her father's leg. And when he approached close enough and he says, "Say hello," she comes out of his leg, approaches me, she hits me on my right leg and runs behind her father's leg again. At that moment I was a little bit surprised, to be honest, but I wasn't expecting much. And I look, he's interacting with her in Arabic, and he knew a little bit of English, so after they finished interacting, I asked him what happened, why she hit me. So he says, "Look, I told her before she came that she is going to meet an Israeli, a Jew, that is in my home right now, and she knows that when she sees somebody like that, when she sees an Israeli, she should, hit him." I was teaching her about this kind of stuff, and when she saw you, she did that. But I told her that, no, you are fine, like, good job, but you are fine, so she can leave you alone, she shouldn't eat you anymore. And I said, "Well, thank you, I appreciate it." And that's it. And she walked away, and she came after many times. She started coming maybe every 2 days or so. And eventually, she started feeling more comfortable with me. She started playing with me, starting sitting with me without her father around. We would go and do things in the apartment, and I would sit with her and play. And eventually, after a month or so, we were sitting there together, me, her father, and this little girl on the floor. And suddenly we were just talking, or I don't know, just sitting there. And suddenly, without any reason, she stood up, approached me, fell on me, gave me a hug and a kiss on the cheek. And I was very surprised. To be honest, I also was very happy in a sense, because I didn't feel any source of compassion for so long. It was maybe 2 months into the war, and I missed it. But also I was very surprised, because while I was in there with her and her dad, there were multiple occasions that he will teach her messed up history about Jews in Israel. He will give her a huge Islamic Jihad flag to wave and enchant songs about killing Jews, about destroying Israel. He will teach her all these awful things about us, and for some reason, maybe because she was so young, she still couldn't differentiate between me and what her father was teaching her about me. And she connected with me, so she felt the desire and love to kiss me and hug me. But not very long after this happened, I was moved to another place, and I remember thinking about this little girl when I was throughout my captivity and meeting so many terrorists, new terrorists every single time, and I told myself, those terrorists are this little girl, but now they are grew up. And unfortunately, this little girl will grow up again, and she will become, as her father wants her to be, a very bad jihadistic, probably will hate us very much as her father teaching her, and she will forget this one interaction that I had with her. But it's important to understand that they are educated, and the culture they have is like that from they are very, very young, they are being educated to do these kind of things. And I saw that in the way they see the world, in the way they were acting towards me so many times when I was in captivity.
It's unbelievable. I mean, I once saw a Sesame Street in Arabic, and they're singing jihad, jihad. You know, like I'm like, does the world see this? Like, are we the only ones who see this? And when you were talking about the doctor who had discussed to try to take care of you, I had a granddaughter who was born by. She's younger than me, thank you. A granddaughter who was born premature in Israel, and she was being taken care of in Hadassah Hospital. And there are many Arabs who are being taken care of in Hadassah Hospital. And she was there for 97 days in the hospital, this baby. Baruch Hashem, she's having her bat mitzvah this year. And I watched how it didn't matter if it was an Arab child or an Israeli child that needed the care. Whoever needed the care first got the care from an Israeli doctor, equally. And we take care because that's what we do. And listening to you say how that Arab doctor wouldn't take care of you, it's terrible.
To be honest, until now, when I go to my physiotherapy in Shiva Hospital, every single time I'm parking my car in the parking lot, there is always a Palestinian car. They have a different license plate in the parking lot. Every single time, different ones, sometimes more than one. And I'm telling myself, the fact that we are taking care of those civilians in there is not new. It's been there. It's been like that for years, and we are still doing that. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't do it. It just means that there is something wrong in the other side, and the way they educated and their perception of the world is messed up.
Correct. And the problem is not us. The problem is that they're educating their children like that. And the problem is that the world is not seeing that. And until they stop educating their children to hate, things can't change. Okay, Sasha, we have to give we have to give Sasha a break. So now it's Sapir's turn. It's amazing how you continue to fight for Sasha and all the other hostages. Did you receive any sign of life while Sasha was in captivity?
So when I came back to Israel, I discovered that Sasha is an hostage. I didn't know that before. And after maybe 5 months, the Islamic Jihad published the first video of Sasha. I remember that it was like we celebrated this day because it's the first time that we saw him, that we knew for sure that he's alive. And in this video, Sasha mentioned me, and he said that he missed me, so I was very excited to hear that. But after maybe 8 months, they published the second video, and in this video, Sasha didn't mention me. I spoke with your mother about it.
Because he had that 3-year-old who kissed him.
So she say, no, he forgot to mention you. He have to say what they tell him to say. But I'm saying no. I knew that Sasha want to release me. I knew that Sasha wished for me to continue and to find another partner. He knew that my biggest dream is to build my own family. When he came back to Israel, I asked him about it, and he said this sentence. He said, Sapir, I didn't want you to wait for someone that will never come back. So he didn't think that he will come back alive.
You're a good guy. Wow. So Sasha, let me ask you, Sapir talks a lot about finding purpose and trying to help people, and that helped her. And you spoke a lot about being alone for a lot of the time and being in darkness. And you spend so much time cut off from the world in the tunnels and endless hours of reflection, right, when you're by yourself. Do you feel that this was profound and life-altering? And did it change the way you look at life at all, in any way?
Yes, it was very profound, and to be honest, sometimes God put us through challenges that we don't necessarily understand why they're happening, specifically in the order they happened, because in my case, for example, I thought to myself for a very long time, especially in the beginning, I'm so misfortunate. Being shot in the legs, getting to Islamic Jihad and not Hamas, being treated so poorly, and also being alone, and eventually getting to a situation that the army is entering the place you're at, and you need to survive every single day in the most horrific situations and conditions, makes you think that, well, maybe I'm just unlucky, maybe this is my destiny to be getting the worst cards every single time. But I was lucky enough to develop faith in a pretty early stage in captivity that actually with everything that was happening was growing, not decreasing. I remember that I got to captivity, looking around myself, and I saying to myself, wow, that's it, my life is over. I have nothing to hope for. The only hope I have is maybe one day get out of this alive, to go back to my old life, to my family, my friends, to Sapir. And this was holding me, not for very long to be honest, maybe the first month. And then I started losing it. I was starting to losing hope, starting to losing strength, resilience. Everything was falling apart. But I was lucky enough that something was growing in the same time. I remember sitting there, although I wasn't by myself, there were terrorists around, but I was sitting mainly by myself. Nobody was interacting with me much, and started to think and reflect about my life, about my past, about my family and friends, and about what I know about history of humanity. And for some reason, I started to develop a very strong sense deep inside of me to try and, focus on good things for the people I care about. In a sense, starting to pray. And nobody ever taught me how to pray. I never prayed. I never read Tehillim. I never did such a thing. And I decided to just reflect from my soul deep inside about my mother, Sapir, my father, my friends, trying to wish them good things, trying to focus good energy towards them. And I remember that after doing that, in a sense talking to God, I started to doubt myself and telling myself, well, you never believed in God before, so why you're doing it now? Why you suddenly started believing in God? Because of the situation, because you want to escape, because you want to blame somebody else for what is going on for you? But with all this doubt that I had, I still decided to keep doing it because I gathered so much strength from this single action. So I started repeating that. At the beginning it was like, I don't know, in random times a day, and then I started doing it more systematically. And I discovered that every time that I was facing a very difficult situation, for example, the amount of food shrank, the situation got worse, I suddenly need to survive, I'm suddenly finding myself in a cage and isolated. All those situations, every time that I was experiencing something very difficult and new, I would go to prayer. I would just sit there quietly, thinking about my loved ones, thinking about God, why you put me here. Give me a way of seeing positivity in this place. Give me a way of seeing purpose. Give me a way of going and trying to appreciate every single day you are giving me ahead. And eventually, it happened. I started seeing things in a different way. I started appreciating every single day. I started appreciating every single opportunity that was presented for me. I was appreciative of every food that I got. I was appreciative of every situation because I saw the benefit of it. Even being in a cage or being isolated, I said to myself, there is more time for me to reflect. There is more time for me to learn about myself, about my soul. And I remember that faith and positivity was a very, very big thing that happened throughout captivity, to a degree that I remember sitting there. I remember it wasn't maybe in the tunnels, and sitting there and telling myself, it's so funny that now that I don't have anything of material, I don't have any belongings, I don't have anything to do. I don't even have a piece of paper and a pen. I don't even have a book, only the Quran. And I feel so happy and enlightened with the days you're giving me. Every single day I'm waking up appreciative of what you gave me, God. And after I came out, I felt that I have, as Sapir described, a sense of appreciation for everything. I was like, every single thing that was given to me, I was appreciative of, and I never wanted anything material. And of course, you start losing it when you're starting the race of life, when you're going from place to place, and you start to go back to reality. But I remember that I promised myself that I would always try to remember the lessons that I've learned throughout captivity, because they are something that's worth everything. My connection with God was so deep and profound that it's not only about trying to seem that for other people to look and say, oh, this guy is doing this and this, so he must believe in God. I didn't care about what other people think. The only thing I cared about is what God thinks of me and what I can do to make every single day count and to learn from my mistakes.
Can I just say that I feel like I'm sitting in the aura of a tzaddik and a tzaddiket. Like holy people. Holy people. So I've been listening, and I know on October 6th, you had a fight. And things weren't looking so good, right? Even the mother-in-law didn't look so good then. But I know that on March 17th, you're getting married. So, I'm assuming, Sapir, could you share how the experience of captivity affected your relationship with each other? And Sasha, you could also.
Okay, so I didn't.
I know it's a little private.
On October 6th, on the way to the kibbutz, I remember that we sat on the bus and I just cried and I moved my head. I didn't want that Sasha would see that. I cried because I understood that we can't continue in this relationship and I have to finish that. Before the October 7th, we were very different. We are still very different, but
Opposites attract.
Opposites, yeah.
That's good. That's good. You should see me and my husband.
It's not simple. I felt before the October 7th that Sasha, he didn't have appreciation for the life. He didn't appreciate nothing. All the time he was upset. All the time he said how much he has a bad luck. And I look at him and I saw a person that has everything. So I didn't understand how it can be. I remember that also before the October 7th, 2 months before, we moved to live in the same apartment to check if it's possible to live together. And I told Sasha that I keep kosher. And he told me, okay, Sapira, I accept it, but just know that if one day you will come to me and say, for example, that you keep Shabbat, it's not for me. On October 7, I decided to keep Shabbat.
Wow.
All this time, You know, when I came back from the captivity, I felt so connected to him, much more than before, because I prayed for him every day and I talked about him every day. And I said, God, why you did it for me? Why you make me to wait for someone that even not believe in you? I felt that I have to wait for him and I didn't know why, because I knew that the best thing is to continue with my life. This connection can be work. I have to continue. I want to build my family. But something, some power, I don't know how to call it, something stopped me. And I have to wait. I remember that when he came back from the captivity, the first sentence that he said is, Mother, I know that God exists. This is what he said to his mother. Now, his mother, she came back, she חזרה בתשובה. How you say that in English?
She became more
She
observant.
became religious.
Ooh.
His mother was the opposite of religious. She became religious, and she talked to me all the time, and she said, how can I say to Sasha? Because he against the belief in God. He was against it in some ways. And when she talked with him, when she told him about it, he said, Mom, I'm so happy for you. And I looked at him, I didn't believe that this is what he said. So I say, I keep Shabbat.
Getting in there with her. Just by the way.
And after I remember that on the helicopter, I wrote a question. I said, Sasha, what the first thing that you want to do? And he wrote, I just want to go to a nice place and sit under the sky. This is not Sasha. Sasha is not a romantic man. And finally, he appreciated every little thing. So what I want to say is that I'm very happy that I waited for you all this time.
I'm also happy you waited. Look how nice he is.
You happy?
Yeah, I'm happy. People
You-
ask us for, I don't know, like couple advice and stuff, and I always say maybe it's a good thing to send somebody to captivity for him to return.
Rabbi, go to the tunnels. Chas v'chalila. Okay. That's beautiful. Shabbat is the best thing for a family. You're going to keep Shabbat? Honestly, that's the best answer. Did you hear what he said? I'm going to try to. That's all. Only Hashem wants us to try. That's all. I'm also trying to. Okay, Sasha. So now that the war is considered over, I don't believe it's ever going to be over until they start educating their children differently. And you're starting, Baruch Hashem, a new chapter in your life with your beautiful bride, soon to be your wife. See how he looks at her? You saw it here first, ladies and gentlemen. How would you like it to look like? And I have one other question. How do you deal with the trauma as you forge your new life forward? Because you can't tell me you guys aren't traumatized, because honestly, I'm traumatized from sitting on this stage.
Well, you know, part of what we've been through taught us a lot. And we've been through, a cycle of learning. She'd been through this cycle 55 days in captivity, and then after she came out, all the time that she was advocating for me and for the hostages and helping my mother was also a challenge for her, a different one, but it was also a challenge. And for me, these almost 500 days in captivity were surely a challenge by itself. But after I came out, it's not that, you know, the challenge is over. In a sense, first of all, until the remaining hostages were returned, we were carrying our burden of being released, and our brothers are still there. Some of them were my friends, personal friends from before. I couldn't think that I can just keep on with my life, that nothing happened. But to be honest, I also didn't want to. I really wanted to find something of a meaning to do with what happened to us. Part of sharing this story that we've been through and what we've learned is for us to be able to tell you, look, we faced death, we faced difficulties, but it doesn't mean that we cannot stand and get stronger after what we've been through. It's actually the opposite. In a sense, it's a choice and a belief. We both choose and believe that we've been through this situation because there is a meaning for that, and our purpose is currently unclear, but we are trying to find it and trying to understand for what reason we came out alive and others don't. And I think that for now, me and Sapira are trying to rebuild a family, trying to build life, trying to influence people for the better, trying to tell them that God put us through challenges not because He wants us to suffer, not because it's something that we cannot accomplish. Challenges are there because it makes us better, because it makes us learn something about ourselves. It makes us a better version of ourselves. And I think that it's very important to remember that every single day throughout our life. And I also think that it's important to look at every single day as a gift. Think to yourself, what would have you done if you would have known that this is your last day, but not something as stupid as saying, okay, so I'll take all my money and go to be in Disneyland. Because it doesn't really matter, to be honest. When I was facing death, I didn't want to escape and go to something nice, or I wanted to do something important and meaningful. And Sapir touched upon this subject as well. So try and live every single day with this notion of saying, if it were my last day, what mark would I want to live in this world? What process would I want to start or to be a part throughout my day? And every single day, you will eventually achieve something great.
It's beautiful. Okay, to wrap it up almost, up here, after the entire journey, what message would you like to share with the Jewish people?
When I came back from the captivity, I remember that sometimes I just went to my room, I closed the door and I cried because I didn't know how can I help now? What can I do? And I remember that I asked myself, in what you believe? And the only word that came to my mind was unity. So I decided to go to many communities and I spoke about Israel, about the October 7. I wanted that all the Jewish in the world will feel a part of that. But I didn't really understand what the meaning of this word, what the meaning of unity. One day, I had a dream at night, and in this dream I was in the gym. I had a bag on my back, and I make squats. I just train with that. And then one of the trainers, he came to me and he said that he want to train with the bag, but he couldn't take it. So he called to the other trainers, and they came to me, all of them, but they couldn't take my bag. So he asked me what you have inside and how you can carry that. And I told him that this bag full with all my lifetime experiences, so just I can carry that. And when I woke up, I thought about this dream that every one of us has his own bag, and we cannot switch the bags, but we can help each other to carry that. And from the moment that I came back from the captivity to Israel, me and his mother, we met Jewish from all over the world, and we felt that all the Jewish people help us to carry our big bag, our heavy bag. And first of all, I want to say thank you that you are a part of it. And second, I want to say, please continue with this mission, even when we don't have a very bad war.
So Sapir touched on something where Jews are very good in times of crisis to come together, but we do have to learn how to be together in times of joy also. You're right. So in your time of joy, even though you might see me be at your wedding as a waitress, but what day is your wedding? I know the date, but the Yom. Not, you don't have to.
Shlishi.
Shlishi. Oh,
Tuesday.
Tuesday's a good
Korach
day.
ve'Adar.
Yeah, it's a very good day, Tuesday. Tuesday it says Ki Tov twice. That's right, it says twice good. So a few days later will be the first time that you sing Eshet Chayil to your wife. And you're at an Eshet Chayil award. Sherry is being awarded today. So our community is giving you the book of Eshet Chayil. And we are presenting it to both of you. It's a book about Eshet Chayil for both of you. And we hope that you come back, maybe for a Shabbat, so we can hear you sing to your beautiful wife. I don't know if all of us will be there, but maybe we'll come to the hotel. And we want to thank you. And I just thank you for sharing and opening. I'm sure it was not easy.